Right, hello guys and welcome back to another video on the channel. Now today, obviously in the month just gone, the January transfer window has finished. So I have decided to make a video here reviewing my top transfers of this window just gone. Give them a rating, we'll go over them, see what happened, see where they've gone, certain players have gone, how they're going to impact their team, etc, etc. Then I'll give them a match rating. I'll give them a review of the transfer. Let's get into it straight away with John Duran heading to Al Nazar from Aston Villa for £66 million. Now, I don't really understand this transfer, other than a money aspect, of course, because if you're going to go to the Saudi Arabian League at 21 years old, you're going there for money. Like, let's be real. I mean, I don't understand with John Duran because he was having a good season at Aston Villa. He was scoring for them, scoring in the Champions League. I remember the goal he scored against Bayern Munich earlier in the season. Very, very good finish over Manuel Neuer. But yeah, to go to Al Nazar at 21, like, I don't understand it. I mean, he'd probably say that he wanted to go there to get more like game time and that, but how are you gonna get more game time when Ronaldo's there? Like, I don't understand it. He'll just be on the bench there, so it doesn't make sense. And also, there was a report yesterday, at the time of recording this, that he actually lived in Bahrain, a country that is near Saudi Arabia, because apparently the law is in Saudi Arabia, if you aren't married to your partner, or like any sort of partner that you have, you can't live with them. So the rumor was he was living in Bahrain and had to take a really long flight just to get the training into Saudi Arabia. But apparently, well, Al Nazar have come out now and called it absolutely false. So whether that's true or not, well, I mean, time will tell, I guess, won't it? But yeah, John Duran, I mean, yeah, I don't get it on a personal view other than money. And for his career, it just seems really, really weird to go to Saudi Arabia. But I suppose he'll be happy with his bank account, that'll be sure, for sure. But if I was to rate this transfer, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Because on a sporting level, I don't understand why he's gone there. He was good, doing really well at Aston Villa, and I would go to Saudi at 21. Doesn't make sense. Really doesn't make sense. The only thing that makes sense about this move is the money. And we all know that. As for John Duran's replacement, though, Marcus Rashford, who has gone to Aston Villa on loan from Manchester United. Now, we all know Rashford in the past, say, 18 months, he hasn't exactly been doing very well, to be for real here. And then, of course, under Amorim, well, since Ruben Amorim got in charge of Man United, that yeah, he's not really had a look in Rashford, mostly due to attitude problems, training. That's what Amorim's been suggesting. He also said in a very famous quote that well, Amorim said that he would rather play his 63-year-old goalkeeping coach ahead of anybody who doesn't set the standard in training properly. So that sent a very, very clear message. So yeah, I think Rashford had to go to a different club to get some game time back under his belt. Barca were interested in him, and as a Barca fan myself, I am very, very glad we did not get Marcus Rashford because he wouldn't have kicked the ball for us. Who's he getting the team over? So, but then it's the same at Aston Villa. I don't really see who he gets in ahead of. He's not going to start up top ahead of Ollie Watkins. Absolutely no chance. And then on the left, he's competing with Morgan Rogers, who's had a fantastic season for Aston Villa. He's also competing with the likes of Leon Bailey in the wide positions. Jacob Ramsey can play out there. I don't know if he's going to get much game time. I mean, he'll certainly get a lot more game time at Aston Villa than what he would have if he had come to Barca. But out of rating this transfer, I don't understand why Unai Emery wanted him, based on the fact that he could have attitude issues. I mean, it's clear as day that he had attitude issues. I mean, all he had to do was train properly, and then he would have still been at Man United. But yeah, he's been off for ages now. So if I was to rate this signing, I'd say I'll give it a 3 because you don't really know what Rashford you're going to get, really. Are Aston Villa going to get the Rashford that was about 18 months ago when he was absolutely smashing it, scoring goals for fun? Or are they just going to get the Rashford that's been about for a while now, just constantly stinking up the place? But yeah, another signing that Aston Villa have made is Donyell Malen from Borussia Dortmund. They paid £22 million for this transfer. And I was quite surprised when this happened, to be brutally honest, because I always thought Malen would be like one of them next wonder kids. I mean, he was a wonder kid a few years ago when he was at PSV, and he went to Dortmund. Of course, he didn't really set the world alight, but you'd think, you know, he can get there. He's quite versatile for as well. Daniel Malen, he can play on the wing, he can play up front. Quite ideal for. It's a good signing, to be fair, for Aston Villa. You could say this is like their Moussa Diaby replacement after obviously they sold Diaby to the Saudi league. So yeah, you could say it was a Diaby replacement by bringing in Daniel Malen, but I still think he's a top quality player. I really do. And of course, I remember early in the season in the Champions League when he scored against Real Madrid and for Dortmund at the Bernabeu. I mean, Dortmund obviously ended up bottling it in the end, but overall, Malen had a very solid performance, and I think that is a very, very good addition for Aston Villa. So if I was to rate this transfer, I say it will. I'll give it a 7. I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for Daniel Malen. I think he'll add some very good bit of quality to Villa's squad, and of course, he's kind of basically replaced Moussa Diaby, and maybe ahead of obviously with Duran moving as well. Then that could be also a thing. But yeah, moving on to Man City now, and they've made quite a few transfers in the January. The biggest one was Umar Marmoush coming in from Eintracht Frankfurt for £64 million. Now, Marmoush was having a very good season with Frankfurt. Very, very good season. He was pretty sure he was the second highest goal scorer in the Bundesliga, only behind Harry Kane. So yeah, that was very, very good for him. And of course, he was one of Frankfurt's key players, out scoring loads of goals for them. But yeah, Man City have got themselves a very good player here. I think Marmoush is basically their Julian Alvarez replacement, because obviously they lost Alvarez to Atletico Madrid in the summer, and then they didn't really replace him until now with Marmoush. So yeah, Marmoush is a very, very exciting player, and what we've seen of him so far since he's went to Man City is that he's going to play on the wing, but he can just play in behind Haaland as well. So yeah, I think Marmoush will do some good things for Man City, and 64 million, I think that's a solid deal. I think that is a solid deal, but I am surprised Frankfurt did let one of their best players go, but I guess money talks, doesn't it? And once the players' heads turned, then there's not really much you can do. But yeah, overall, I'd rate this signing a solid. I'll give it a 7. Same with Malen, I'll give Marmoush a 7 out of 10. Well, obviously, he's yet to score for Man City yet, but he has looked lively, and I reckon he'll get his first goal soon. Moving on to another Man City incoming, and we've got Nico Gonzalez joining them from Porto for £52 million. Now, I was very surprised by this. It happened on deadline day, but to be fair, Nico Gonzalez, I remember, obviously, like I've already mentioned, I am a Barcelona fan. So I was seeing Nico Gonzalez when he came through the academy, obviously the La Masia graduate, and then he came through, had his debut under Xavi, and yeah, it was quite good. He was quite solid, to be fair, and I honestly think he might even potentially get in our team now if he was with us. But he's done well at Porto, and of course, Barca did have a 40% sell-on clause, but it got reduced to like 20 or something. So we were meant to get like 24 million from this deal, but we've ended up getting 13. Top tier business from Barca once again. If I didn't laugh, I'd cry. But yeah, overall, I'd say this is another solid addition for Man City. Nico Gonzalez would definitely bring some energy into their midfield, which is definitely on the older side. I mean, Gundogan looks like he might have lost his legs a bit. De Bruyne is always injured. So yeah, I feel like Man City did need a fresh little injection of youth in that midfield. And Nico Gonzalez is definitely going to give that to them. Overall, I'd give this signing an 8 out of 10. I feel like he's going to have a very, very... he's going to be a very key player for Man City, Nico Gonzalez. And of course, under Pep as well, of course, the legendary Barca manager himself, he'll know how to get the best out of Nico. And imagine when Rodri's back, them two are going to partner up very nicely in midfield. And of course, another Man City player, because Man City have been incredibly, incredibly busy in this transfer window. Kusunov, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name. I'm butchering that, I apologise. But yeah, they signed him from Lens for £34 million. Now, I must admit, I don't really know much about Kusunov, other than obviously he's from Uzbekistan, he's a centre-back. And to be fair, Man City did need some cover at centre-back, because obviously they did have a bit of an injury crisis there due to like Ruben Diaz being out injured, John Stones, Ake. So yeah, it makes sense that they needed to reinforce in that position. But of course, on his debut, Kusunov, he did have a bit of I wouldn't say a stinker, but he did make a mistake that led to a Chelsea goal. But obviously, Man City ended up winning that game in the end, so obviously not very much of an issue. But obviously, he will need time to adapt to the Premier League because, of course, League One is it's a very different type of league to the Premier League. Of course, Premier League's more physical, faster. So yeah, Kusunov will definitely need time to adapt, but I feel like he will give some good addition to Man City's squad. I do feel like he will give them a good little difference at the back. So overall, I'll give it a 6 because obviously I don't know much about him, but I do think that he is quite young, so obviously he will be able to grow into the side as time goes on. Yeah, maybe he become a key man for them. Who knows? And the last Man City player new Man City player is Rees. He's joined them from Palmeiras for 30 million. Yeah, again, I don't really know too much about him, but of course, if you're signing a youngster from Brazil, then it must mean they've got something good about them. I mean, it's Brazil at the end of the day. Of course, they're going to be good. He's a midfielder, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was loaned out. I'm pretty sure he might have got loaned out, actually, but maybe he didn't. I mean, if he gets game time for them, then it'd be interesting to see. But I'm pretty sure he would probably only play in the cup competitions, I'd imagine. He was born in 2006. Oh my lord. That makes me feel old. But yeah, I think he's one for the future, 100%. He's definitely one for the future, and of course, another midfield addition, because obviously, Man City, like I've already mentioned, Rodri being out injured, Gundogan losing his legs, De Bruyne always injured. Looks like he could leave at the end of the season. So yeah, I feel like this is definitely a signing for the future, and I'd personally give it a 6 again because I don't really know much about Rees, I have to be honest. But yeah, moving on to Chelsea now. Of course, we already mentioned them when we talking about Kusunov. João Felix, on deadline day, he went to AC Milan on a loan deal because, I mean, Chelsea just signed that many players that they didn't really think about how they'd fit into the team. And clearly, Enzo Maresca didn't fancy João Felix because he would only play against the relegation teams in the Premier League or in the Conference League. So, yeah, Felix was clearly not in demand. And, of course, he decided to go on loan to AC Milan for the rest of the season. And he actually, as of the time of recording this, pretty sure he scored on his debut last night, which was quite something. I think he'll fit in quite well over there, João Felix. I think he will fit in quite well over at AC Milan. I mean, of course, he was at Barca last season, and he was a bit inconsistent, João Felix, but I think there is definitely a player in there. If he can just find a club where he can stay at for years and years, and find some consistency, then I feel like that would be really good for him. So overall, I'll rate this transfer a 7 out of 10. If João Felix can get the consistency at AC Milan, then yeah, they're in for a treat. They're in for a treat. Now moving on to PSG. And of course, they signed Khvicha Kvaratskhelia from Napoli for £60 million. And yeah, I was a bit surprised with this one, to be fair, but I guess PSG of course they have the money. Of course they do. It's PSG at the end of the day. But I was surprised by Napoli letting one of their key players go because he was having a very good season for Napoli under Conte. Him and Kvaratskhelia and Lukaku were linking up quite well, it seemed. Of course, Napoli are on the charge for another Serie A title. But yeah, for Kvaratskhelia to go to PSG, it feels really, really off. It feels really weird, but I suppose he does add something to their attack, which, of course, after the departure of the likes of Messi, Mbappe, Neymar, their attack isn't exactly as star glamorous as what it was in the past. Because obviously they have Barcola, Ousmane Dembele, Kang In Lee. Yeah, it's not as glamorous as what it has been in the past. So adding a bit of quality with Kvaratskhelia, I feel like that'd be very good for them. Of course, they're going to win the French league. Like, let's be real, they always win the French league. But whether they can get far in the Champions League, I mean, of course, we'll have to wait and see if they can even get through that playoff position. But yeah, Kvaratskhelia is a good signing from them, and I'd personally rate this an 8 out of 10. I don't understand it from Napoli's point of view, but from PSG's point of view, I can understand it, and Kvaratskhelia will definitely add a bit of quality to their attack. moving on now to outgoing from PSG. We have Xavi Simons going to RB Leipzig on a permanent basis for £43 million. Now, Xavi Simons, yeah, he's another one of those that came through Barca's academy. Never made his debut for the first team. Went on a few different places. Of course, he went to PSG. Then he had a few loan spells. He had loan spell at PSV. Then he went to Leipzig on loan. Impressed at Leipzig. And now Leipzig have made it a permanent deal. Yeah, Xavi Simons looks like he's going from strength to strength. He really does, and he's been putting up some good numbers in the Bundesliga for Leipzig. Of course, they haven't exactly had a very good season at Leipzig, at least in the Champions League. They had an absolute stinker in the Champions League, literally finishing in the bottom half where you get eliminated from the competition. So yeah, very disappointing in that regard for Leipzig. But Xavi Simons is definitely one to keep an eye on and definitely a player for the future. He's definitely coming to his potential at Leipzig. So yeah, I'll give this a 8 out of 10 as well. Yeah, Xavi Simons, top quality player, and you'd imagine he'll probably get a bigger move in the future. We'll have to wait and see. Now, moving over to the other side of Manchester, we have Manchester United. And of course, they needed to bring in some players to fit Ruben Amorim's system. And that's exactly what they've done here with Dorgu here. Patrick Dorgu, they brought him in from Lecce in Serie A for £26 million. Of course, Amorim's system really does depend on the wing backs. And of course, they brought in Dorgu to do just that. He's a left wing back, so to speak. And yeah, he can get up and down. I must admit, I haven't much watched him, but I feel like he will obviously help with Amorim's system because you have seen that Man United have struggled. Well, the players have definitely struggled to adapt to Amorim's system because, yeah, it's a lot different to what it was under Ten Hag, that's for sure. But yeah, you can see Amorim's vision. You can definitely say Amorim's vision, but of course, they'll need a lot more than just Dorgu over the next few transfer windows just to improve and get used to Amorim's system. But overall, I think it's an addition they needed because obviously they've been playing the likes of Dalot there, Mazraoui. Whether they suit the rules or not it's all personal opinion, really. But yeah, I'd rate this personally. I'd give it a 7 out of 10 because yeah, they desperately needed somebody to fit into that sort of role, and yeah, hopefully Dorgu can do well for them. Now, Tottenham made some interesting additions in over this transfer window, and the first one is Kevin Danso from Lens on a loan deal. Now, Kevin Danso he's been one of those where he looks very impressive, the Austrian centre back. Of course, Tottenham did need cover there after Van de Ven getting injured, Christian Romero getting injured. They've just had a bit of an injury crisis, Tottenham. So they definitely needed to reinforce in that area, and Kevin Danso is a very, very good addition in that regard. Very, very good addition in that regard. And yeah, I feel like he will definitely add some quality to them, not just now, but in the future as well, when the likes of Van de Ven and Romero get back. Yes, he may not be a starter once them two are back, but they still have him coming off the bench, making an impact. It's certainly better than Dragusin and playing Archie Gray centre-back. So yeah, Kevin Danso is definitely one to keep an eye on, see how he gets on at Tottenham. Of course, Tottenham are playing tonight at the time of recording this against Liverpool, so it'd be interesting to see if he plays there. But yeah, overall, I'd give this signing a 8 out of 10. I think he'll be a very solid addition for Tottenham. And yeah, Lens have definitely lost two of their key defenders this transfer window. They will not be happy about that. And Tottenham actually hijacked this transfer from Wolves because it looked like Danso was going to go to Wolves, but Tottenham ended up hijacking it in the end because, yeah, Tottenham, I guess. But yeah, another incoming to Tottenham, which looked to be a bit on and off at times. Matthias Tell joining them on loan from Bayern Munich. Now, there was a point where you thought it was going to happen, but then it looked like Tell had rejected them and said, no thanks, I don't want to go there. But then all of a sudden, one phone call with Postecoglou and he suddenly changed his mind. Like, the rumours are that he didn't want to be there on a permanent basis. Where obviously the initial talks were about a loan with like an option to buy or something like that, but Tell didn't want that. So obviously Tell just wanted like a straight loan. That's the rumours apparently. But I think Tell would definitely be a good addition for their forward line because obviously they have had injuries there as well. Tottenham, of course. There's a Sank, he's been out injured. Richarlison hasn't exactly set the world alight. You can also play on the wing as well, Tell, so you could cover in for Son if needed, or Werner, which I still don't understand why they've got Timo Werner, but Tottenham, I guess. But yeah, if Tell can get firing at Tottenham, then he could be a very solid addition for them. Of course, they mainly want to play him up front because he is definitely a striker, not a winger. But yeah, would he get in ahead of Solanke once he's back from injury? Who knows? But overall, I'd give this signing a 7 out of 10. Yes, it was a bit of an absolute mess because of it was on, it was off, and then it was back on. But yeah, if Tell can get some consistency at Tottenham, then Bayern Munich would definitely be very happy with that. Now, moving on to the second division of England in the Championship. And to start off here, we have Enzo Lafay going from Roma to Sunderland on a loan deal. Now, this was one of the shocks of the window, if you ask me. One of the shocks of the window because, yeah, for a player to go from Roma in Serie A, who are competing in the Europa League, competing in Serie A, then go down a division to the second division in England for Sunderland, quite mad. I mean, of course, the Fair knew Sunderland's manager, Reggie Rebouillet, from his time at Lorient in France. Fun fact here, he was actually one of the highest assist makers in the French league when Lorient were there under Reggie Rebouillet. He was only behind the likes of Messi and Neymar, etc. So yeah, obviously Sunderland have got themselves a good player on their hands, and of course for a championship club to be able to attract a player like the Fair from like one of the top Italian teams, it is quite impressive, to be fair, and it's a very good addition to Sunderland's team as they look to try and get back to the Premier League for the first time in a long time. So yeah, overall I'd rate this transfer a 9 out of 10 personally. A 9 out of 10 to be able to attract the caliber of player that obviously the Fair is playing for, because of course he's owned by Roma, who are a top tier Serie A club. For him to be able to go a step down a division, then yeah, that's a really good bit of business from Sunderland. I'll give them credit there, and yep, that is a 9 out of 10 signing if you ask me. And staying in the Championship, we have got Marcus Edwards going on loan from Sporting Lisbon to Burnley. Now, again, this is a very, very good bit of business from a Championship club, again, being able to attract a player in Marcus Edwards. Yes, he's fallen out of favour at Sporting, but still, be able to attract a player who's playing for arguably the biggest Portuguese team, playing in the Champions League alongside the likes of Gyökeres and etc., to be able to go to Burnley, be attracted by Burnley's project is quite something. I mean, of course, I'm pretty sure Marcus Edwards knows Scott Parker, Burnley's manager, from their time at Tottenham. So it could make sense in that regard. But of course, being able to attract a player like Marcus Edwards for the Championship team is very impressive again. So I would have to give this a 9 out of 10 as well, because based on obviously the Championship, being able to attract these kinds of players is quite impressive. It's quite impressive. And of course, I know there's some big teams in there. There's like Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley, etc., Sheffield clubs. But still, to be able to attract these kinds of players from top tier European clubs, it is quite impressive. It is quite impressive if I do say so myself. But yeah, that is where we are going to leave this video for today, guys. Let me know what you think of them transfers, and if you think there's any transfers that I've missed, feel free to leave it in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you later on for Barca's match in the Copa del Rey up against Valencia. Should be a good game. Should be, fingers crossed. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.